My name is Elena Vargas. I work as a senior accountant at a supermarket chain. I met Matteo Castillo 7 years ago at a book club. At that time I was already working full-time while he was completing his master's in public administration. When I first met his parents, Lucia and Don Javier Castillo, I knew immediately they didn't like me. Lucia scanned me from head to toe. Her first words were, "I thought you would be taller." Don Javier added, "So Elena, you didn't go to university?" The question dripped with pity. For years I endured their subtle insults. Lucia brought expensive cakes only for Matteo. She complained about my generic brand coffee. She searched my drawers for napkins but was really checking my finances. "So few savings," she would murmur to Matteo. "You should have married someone with a proper financial plan." Still, I kept trying. Every birthday, every awkward dinner, I was there. I cooked, I cleaned, I smiled, I served drinks. One Christmas I received a rejected candle while everyone else got personalized gifts. No one noticed, not even Matteo. Last summer they planned a trip to the family cabin. Lucia told me to pack for the family vacation. I drove with Matteo to his parents' house, only for them to leave without me while I was in the bathroom. Later Matteo said, "Mom said it should be just family." He spoke as if it were a simple fact, not an insult. "But I'm your wife." "Yes," he replied, "but you're not blood." Then came the annual family dinner in August. By some miracle my job gave us 3 days off. I should have gone to the beach. Instead I was recruited to serve. Lucia called me the night before. "You'll help with the preparations. The guests expect a certain standard." I was up from 6 in the morning, chopping, cleaning, vacuuming, polishing wine glasses. While Matteo and his parents drank coffee on the patio, I ironed linen napkins for lunch. I was exhausted. The guests arrived, warm and loud. I forced a smile, showed them to their seats, refilled drinks, reheated sauces. Matteo didn't help when I asked him to bring out the roast. He just murmured, "Are you handling it?" Only when everyone was seated and the food served did I finally sit down. That was when Lucia stood up. "I have a surprise," she said with a sugary smile. "Just for the family." She disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a tray. On it were 7 perfect medium rare steaks, glistening. She served them one by one to Don Javier, Matteo, and the other relatives. For dessert she lifted a shiny white box of imported French tarts. Only for the family. Of course everyone applauded, except me. There was no 7th plate, no dessert for me. Only my half-eaten roasted chicken from the first round. The silence stretched like a blade. Aunt Gabriella, seated to my left, finally asked, "Lucia, didn't you make one for Elena?" Lucia looked at me as if I were gum stuck to her heel. "I only ordered for the family," she said lightly. My ears rang, my chest burned. I turned to Matteo. He didn't look up, just kept cutting his steak. "Matteo," I spoke before I lost courage. "Tell me, Matteo, am I family or not?" He still didn't look up. He chewed slowly, deliberately, as if my question had been rhetorical. Aunt Gabriella frowned. "Matteo, your wife just asked you something." Finally he put down his fork, more annoyed than surprised. "Don't do this, Elena, not here in front of everyone." "Oh, I think this is exactly the place," I said. My voice stayed calm, but my hands trembled under the table. Lucia gave a sharp little laugh. "Honestly, this is so beneath you, Elena, making a scene over food." "Food," I repeated. "No, this isn't about steaks or dessert. It's about how I've been treated for 7 years. Like a tenant in your son's life. Like the outsider you never wanted." Don Javier scoffed. "No one said you weren't welcome." "No," I said, "you just made it clear I wasn't educated enough. Polished enough. Not real family material. You said it with every sideways glance. Every backhanded compliment. Every time you searched my private things looking for reasons to belittle me." I stood up, took out my phone, and opened a recording I had made discreetly. "Listen to this," I said and pressed play. It was a conversation from the week before between Lucia and Don Javier. I had recorded it while they thought I was working late. Lucia's voice filled the dining room. "I can't wait until Matteo realizes his mistake. Elena will never be one of us. She's a nobody who thinks her little job makes her important." Don Javier answered, "Give it time. Matteo will eventually find someone on his level. Someone with class." I paused the recording. The silence was deafening. But I wasn't finished. I pulled a folder from my bag and placed it on the table. What is this? Matteo asked. Preliminary separation papers, I said. I've already spoken with a lawyer. I'm not waiting for your permission. The room froze. Even Lucia stopped breathing for a moment. You're overreacting, Don Javier said finally. Am I? I turned to him. Do you think I didn't notice how you sighed every time I entered the room? The way you looked at my hands as if checking for dirt? Lucia rose from her chair. You think this makes you superior? You're just a simple accountant. Senior accountant, I corrected. At a chain that just promoted me to regional finance coordinator. And unlike your son, I actually read documents before I sign them. Matteo pushed the folder toward me. You're not doing this. Oh, yes I am. His voice cracked. You're really going to throw away our marriage over a meal? No, I said softly. I'm leaving because I've been treated like a stranger in my own life. Why did you let them wear me down until I forgot I had options? He looked at me as if he no longer recognized me. Maybe he never had. I turned to Aunt Gabriella. I'm sorry you had to witness this. She placed her napkin down gently. Don't apologize, dear. You've shown more grace than most would in your position. Then she looked at Lucia. And you should be ashamed. You humiliated your daughter-in-law in front of the entire family. She's no longer my daughter-in-law, Lucia spat. I nodded. And you'll never have the chance again. Matteo's voice dropped to a whisper. You really mean it? You're leaving me? I didn't answer. I simply stood up. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed my bag from the hook by the door, and returned to the dining room. I'll send the official papers this week, I said. Lucia crossed her arms. Don't expect sympathy from anyone. Aunt Gabriella stood. Actually, Lucia, I think you'll find the family feels differently. Lucia blinked. What do you mean? I mean we're tired of the drama, the belittling, the cruelty disguised as tradition. I won't be attending your Christmas brunch this year. You can't be serious. Aunt Gabriella looked around the table. Several cousins nodded in agreement. I am. I turned to leave. Matteo tried one last time. Elena, please don't do this. I paused at the door. You had 7 years to treat me like family, I said without turning around. You chose silence. And then I walked out. The walk to my car was the 10 most silent seconds of my life. No shouting, no footsteps behind me, no last-minute apologies. Only the click of my heels and the August heat rising from the pavement. I didn't cry. I didn't even look back. By the time I reached what used to be our driveway, now mine, I had already messaged my lawyer to proceed. That week was a blur of paperwork and iced coffee. I moved into the guest room and kept my distance. Matteo kept trying to downplay it as if it were just a fight. Not a fracture. People divorce over cheating, not over a meal, he said. You're being dramatic. But something in him knew. He stopped going out. He stopped pretending to look for work. He just sat there. Meanwhile, I stayed busy. I accepted the promotion to the main office, regional finance coordinator. Full salary increase, flexible remote options. I would move in 3 months. I didn't tell him. Why should I? What I did tell him was the court date. Our mediation was scheduled for September 9th. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. I moved to another state, started the new job, and began again. The last I heard, Lucia was still insisting I had destroyed the family. Matteo had moved back in with his parents. Aunt Gabriella sent me a Christmas card that year with a note. The table was very quiet without you. Lucia had to cook. No one ate the steaks. I smiled when I read it. Some people never learn that family isn't just blood. It's respect, support, and love. And when you don't have that, you only have relatives sitting around a table wondering why it feels so empty. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.